Brendan Nash and Darren Stevens both scored undefeated hundreds as Kent had the better of the opening day of their LV County Championship match with Glamorgan in Canterbury, in spite of the efforts of the visitors James Harris. Rob Key won the toss and decided to have a go first, and he and Sam Northeast looked to press on from the off. The first couple of overs were expensive as both openers soon located where the boundary was. Harris's first success came at the start of his fourth over, as he found a bit of extra bounce to have Key taken behind by a diving Mark Wallace. Glamorgan had come into this game on the back of a terrific win over Northamptonshire just a couple of days before. There it was their batsmen who shone, something the talented Northeast was starting to do against their bowlers now. Harris was the exception. He was difficult to score off and then claimed his second wicket by finding the edge of Ben Harmison's bat. Northeast was then joined by Nash, and it was this pair that showed that there were runs to be had on this surface, especially with Harris now being rested. None of the other Glamorgan bowlers found much to help them, and that allowed Kent to go to lunch with only the two men out. Starting this match just outside the promotion places, this was just the start they were after. A storm of biblical proportions meant that an hour was lost after lunch, and on the resumption, Northeast reached his second 50 of the summer, this one coming off 94 balls with 10 fours. Alas for him, he was out 2 balls later, LBW to Harris after trying to work him to leg. Northeast departed for 52. Enter the former Glamorgan player Michael Powell, who must have been relishing scoring runs against the side he left in the winter. He was out first ball with a nick behind. That left Kent on 110 for 4 with parity now restored, but that was to be the end of any celebrations for the Welshman, in spite of Harris, who had at this stage taken 4 for 33 in 12 overs. Stevens survived the hat-trick ball from the England Lion, who has missed much of this season while recovering from a groin injury, but then Stevens and Nash went on the attack. There were some cracking shots from this pair, who rarely missed out on any hittable delivery in what was soon a very entertaining stand. Later on, it was to become an extremely significant one too. Nash reached his 50 with a pull to the fence, bringing him his 8th boundary. The former West Indian batsman was proving again what a good acquisition he was in the close season. At the other end, Stevens was striking many of the balls he faced for 4. He went to his own half-century off only 42 balls, a superb effort, and he didn't bother running too much by thumping 10 boundaries from those deliveries. Not for the first time in his career, the 36-year-old had taken the attack back to the bowlers. Earlier on in this innings, he'd also passed 10,000 runs in a first-class career that goes back to 1997. He now slowed down, allowing Nash to pick up the pace of this innings as the two raced towards their hundreds. Glamorgan were hoping that this was going to be a day for them to celebrate. At tea, it had been announced that their coach Matthew Mott is staying after being interviewed for the head coach's job at New Zealand. None of that concerned Nash, of course, who nicked a single to go to 3 figures for the second time as a Kent player. He'd needed 158 balls to get there and had struck 14 fours. It was an excellent, unflustered innings. Stevens had come close to damaging both Marcus North in the field and umpire David Milnes with his hitting. His ton soon followed, naturally arriving with a 4, his 18th. His 100 had taken him 125 balls, and it was also his second of the campaign. Indeed, he'd moved to a season's best by the close, finally passing Nash by taking his boundary count to 21. He and Nash had ensured that this was very much Kent's day. Both will be looking for more runs on day 2 as well. Stevens will resume on 120 with Nash on 110. Their partnership stands at exactly 200, and they need a further 78 for the best ever for their county's 5th wicket. That's a record which goes back to 1931. Kent will resume on 310 for 4.